In this video, we are going to learn how to build multi-level, multi-dimensional data formulas using the Edge2Web no-code Formula Builder. Starting at the app homepage, we can navigate to the Formula Builder by dropping down the tool menu and clicking on Formula Builder. When you open the Formula Builder page for the first time, you will notice two things, a toolbar and an empty formula editor. On the toolbar, you have multiple buttons, some of which are enabled and disabled. When they are enabled, you can hover over the button to view a tooltip of what the button does. Click on the Open button in the toolbar. The Open button launches the Formula Selector in a pop-up window. The Formula Selector allows you to manage your formulas by creating new formulas, deleting saved formulas, and selecting existing formulas to edit. Let's start by creating a new formula. Click the Create button and enter a name for your new formula. I'm going to enter total count, for example. Notice how in the top right of our screen, we received a notification that our formula is invalid. This serves as a reminder that a saved formula is invalid and should be fixed. A formula is validated whenever you save or save as a formula. This ensures that a formula is able to be executed. However, if you would like to continue saving, you can do so. Let's see how that works in action. With my empty formula, I'm going to click the save icon, and I will get a pop-up describing a list of errors with my formula. You can click OK to continue saving, but I'm going to click cancel and make my formula a bit more useful. Let's take a look at the formula editor. On the top left of our editor, you will see a text box that represents the formula in a more traditional equation-style printout. This helps you read the formula and spot any issues or simply get the idea of maybe a complex formula. To the right of the formula printout, there is a box called the description. This allows you to enter anything you want as a plain text field. Below the formula printout, there is a button called Optimized Aggregations. This is on by default and allows Edge2Web to optimize data retrieval and calculations through SiteWise aggregate operations. Should you want this disabled for any reason, simply click the switch to off and the optimization will be disabled wherever the formula is evaluated. Now onto the builder itself. Notice the boxes, their size, the controls, and the contents inside of it. Each level of the formula builder wraps everything beneath it, similar to how a pair of parentheses work. In this formula builder, you can have one or two operands. We are currently seeing a formula with one operand. At the top level, we have a sum being performed. Notice how this matches what the formula printout has, where we have a sum, a parentheses, and nothing inside the parentheses, because we have an empty series name. Now let's start creating our formula. On the left side of the box, you can see the sum. This represents the current operation being performed. You can click this drop-down box to view a list of all the current operations. You can view the help page if you have any questions about what an operation is and what it requires. I'm going to choose add because I want to add two series together. One series is going to be called the good counter, and the other name is going to be the scrap counter, but I don't have to manually type it. I can use the series selector to open up a pop-up window and select it. In the series selector, you can select an asset, and then once your asset is selected, you can view the list of properties from that asset. In the list of properties, you can select the name you want to use as your property name. With two operands, we can now test our formula. Click the test button to open up the formula tester window. In the formula tester, there are several input controls, so let's get started at the top. Selecting an asset will trigger the automatic property mapping between an asset and a formula. What do I mean by that? Well, let's examine the property map data table. Recall that we're adding the good counter and the scrap counter together. That's why we see both of these properties listed under the formula property column. But notice how we are missing both of the asset properties in the asset property column. This is because the formula property is just a name, but we need a real asset to get data from. The property mapping is how the two are connected. By choosing an asset that has an asset property with the same name as the formula property, we can calculate the formula using that property's data as the source. So let's do that. I will start by selecting an asset, and I will choose the same one that I used to get my property name, but you don't have to. Notice that I now have two names underneath the asset property column that match the formula property, so that's good. The auto mapping was created. We can also adjust the time for which we will get the data for. We can change the start time, the end time, the time interval, and our time zone, but for now let's keep the default settings. I'm going to test my formula by clicking test. These results look good, but they're not quite what I'm looking for. These are the addition of two values, but I was looking for more of a sum, so let's click close and go back to modifying our formula. I want to change the addition of a series to an addition of a sum, but rather than rewriting the formula, I can use these arrows showing up when you hover over each box. This is a shift operand down button. Whenever I click it, it's going to wrap this operand in an expression that has a no operation. If I wanted to perform the inverse of that, I can press the shift operand button up here, and this will perform the inverse going back to what I had before. Now I can press the undo button on the toolbar to get back to where I was. Let's change the no op back to a sum and do the same for the scrap counter. And let's test our formula again to see what our result is. Good, this is what I was looking for. It's the addition of two sums, the sum of the good counter and the sum of the scrap counter at one value, which is the end of our time period. Now let's close this and go back to saving our formula. We just went over how to use some basic operations, but now let's discuss some operands. In our current formula, we have an operation of an add that's combining two different operands. You can change the operand type by clicking the drop-down box above an operation and viewing the list of operands. For any questions of what an operand is, you can view the help page. Let's choose the formula type. When I choose a formula type, it says pick a saved formula. The formula operand type allows you to embed existing saved formulas into your current formula. This is an alternative to rewriting the same formula over and over and saves you time and effort. So let's do that. Let's create two new formulas. I'm going to open a formula selector to create a new formula called goodCountSum. Now I want to change this to be what we're going to replace, so I'm going to have the sum of a series of good counter. I'm going to save this as is. Then I want to save as a new formula and create a copy for it as the scrap count sum. I'm going to change the name to scrap count. Then I'm going to save it. Now let's open up our total count formula and modify those expressions to become formulas. I'm going to change these expressions to formulas, and I'm going to pick these formulas we just created. Now we can test our formulas to make sure our results are the same. And it looks good. That's the same value we had before. We've only touched the surface of the formula builder, starting from something as simple as a summation to combining embedded formulas from the bottom up. With the Edge2Web Formula Builder, you can quickly and easily create complex multi-level formulas to calculate the data you want to see. Thanks for watching.